Are you building a life that takes you away from your family, or are you shaping a life that intentionally brings you together with your family? This is particularly crucial for dads, for fathers. I'm not a businessman with a family. I'm a family man with a business, and that's very, very intentional. I've thought about it quite a bit. How did I end up, in spite of all the drama, optimistic, creative, and entrepreneurial? And I think it's because of four things that my father did for me. I am replicating that with my children now. I want to bring it to you. Let's talk about the power of being a father. Welcome to the XC. The four things that my dad did for me. And this is in spite of the fact that my childhood was not comfortable. It was full of drama. There was a military coup in the very beginning. My dad was in jail. We were in a refugee camp. We traveled to four different countries by age 7. We saw civil war in Africa. So military coup in Chile, civil war in Africa, the fall of the Soviet Union in the USSR. I mean, whole countries collapsing all around us, poverty, all kinds of stuff, like really, really big things. And people ask me, how are you not bitter? Oftentimes I go on podcasts, I tell my story, people like the story, and they go, dude, how are you like not completely resentful? And I'm not, and I think it's because, there's all kinds of theories around that. How do you create anti-fragility and all of that? But really the biggest thing, I think, was the four things. Before we get into it, I want to ask you for a quick favor. Could you please consider subscribing to this channel, maybe sending this episode to someone who needs to hear it, who would benefit from it? And also, would you consider subscribing to my newsletter? The XC newsletter drops on Sundays and on Wednesdays. There's all kinds of value there, I promise. Go to ChristianRayFlores.com, subscribe. The first thing is that it's that he was there. It was presence. My dad was around me all the time, right? When people say, no, all you need to do is spend quality times with your kids, I think it's a lie. It's just not true. Your kids need you around. They need your presence, not your presents on Christmas. Um, and yes, there are all kinds of circumstances under which you can't do that. I get it. I understand that. The point is, you can make an effort, you can make an extra effort to create that kind of lifestyle. And in 2025, it's probably easier than ever, right, to do that. My dad was there. That's the bottom line. He would go to work, he would come back for lunch, we would have lunch together, he would take a nap, a quick nap, then he would go back to work, then he'd come back, then we'd have dinner together. We'd have dinner together around the table. There were no devices available, thankfully. And we would speak about all kinds of things. And they were sort of weird because my dad would say something in Spanish, my mom would answer in Russian, my sister and I could chime in either of those languages, or Portuguese or English. It was crazy. But the point is, he was there. And I felt a belonging, right? I felt that this is my unit, this is my family, this is us, right? The second thing that he did for me is that he shared a lot of experiences with me, even sometimes against my wish, against my will. So he's an engineer, so he loved tinkering under his car, and he would get all dirty and fixing stuff, and he would get me to bring him tools and come under and look up under the undercarriage and point things out, how things work. And it's fascinating because I turned out to be an artist, not an engineer. So even back then, I was like, yeah, I'm not into this. But the thing is, I was there with my dad. He would work on the engine of a boat that he had. The engine failed like all the time. He would do that. He would take me into like very adult conversations. He would have friends over, and he would have me, hey, join us. Listen to what we're talking about, right? That was very interesting. And I watched him figure things out. I watched him um, learn things. He was very, very curious, and he taught me my first words in English. He taught me spearfishing. He taught me horseback riding, all those things. So I just wanted to be around him. The third thing he did for me is exposure to the realities of the world. And the way that happened is that he would just take me with him to all kinds of things, adult conversations about very serious things, like about injustice, about war, about tyranny. Like there's all these not kid conversations that I was just sitting there learning about things, and it sunk in, right? And from those groups that he was in, his friend groups, I learned that it's good to live for a cause that is bigger than you. that's where I got it from. And it really served me. And to this day, philanthropy, ministry, things like that are so important for me, for my heart. I have such joy that I derive from that. And I heard all kinds of stories that were real life stories, right? There was a civil war going on, as I told you, and he was the head engineer of this big transportation company, and basically he would send trucks up north, and there was guerrilla warfare going on in the north, and he would come home all sad because another one of his trucks was blown up and they killed the driver, and what do we do about that? I mean, things like that. So I was exposed to life early on, and it was not sort of this inappropriate exposure. I think it was really helpful to me. I think I became wiser earlier, right? The other thing is that we traveled together, right? We we went on road trips and camping trips, and we went spearfishing and fishing, and we have adventures. And some of those trips actually turned out pretty pretty dangerous. Looking back, I've reminded him of those things. Like, seriously, you took me to that place? He's like, yeah, that was not smart. But the thing is, we just did a lot of things together. We traveled, we saw the world. And the last thing, the fourth thing, is affection. He was just emotionally present. He was not verbally abusive. He was kind. There was touching. There was hugging. There was I love yous. And as I said, he messed up in a big way. He was not perfect. He was unfaithful to my mom. It broke our family apart. Oh my gosh, it took years for me to recover from that. They ended up divorcing. And the reason I tell you this is because we mess up all the time. All fathers mess up. I've messed up. You've messed up if you're watching this and you're a dad. But those things that I told you about, they can make up for a lot of our mistakes. And I can tell you from experience because, we ended up moving to another country after the divorce. I was thousands of miles away from him. This is pre-internet, so we couldn't talk regularly. And I had pain, but I didn't have bitterness and resentment. I just missed him. I just miss him. I just wanted to have him back in my life. I wanted the family to be reunited, and I missed his presence. And because of that bond that was established and it didn't go away, even through all the drama and all the mistakes and all the tragedy, we have a great relationship now. He's, as of today, 85 years old. We talk all the time, and it helped me so much in my life, right? Okay, so how does that affect how we raise our children now? And I've been thinking about that quite a bit, and it's really interesting because it turns out, and this is literally not even very conscious, but it's intuitive, that we've built our lives, my wife and I, Deb, with our girls, we have 3 daughters, along very similar principles, right? So even though I'm fairly professionally ADHD, I'm entrepreneurial, I do this, I do that, I get busy, I get too busy. I've built all of my life in the last 21 years around being present. So the principle was this: I could lose money, I could lose status, I could lose impact, but I will be present with my children. And I haven't missed a birthday, a significant event of any kind. I was always there. We were around each other all the time. We also shared experiences, right? So we would go and serve the poor in the inner city, and some of those neighborhoods are rough. Our babies were with us, and they saw all of that. We would shoot a music video in our production company for like a fancy shoot, $175,000 budget on a Hollywood set with 50 extras, some of the best entertainment people working with us and for us, and they were on set. They saw us work. I was editing a commercial, and they would be on my lap seeing how I edit. Now they edit, right, and they create great content. We would be serving a soup kitchen in Los Angeles for the homeless, and they would be playing outside in the backyard with the homeless kids, because it's a shelter for homeless families, right? So they would make friends with these kids. So all of that, they were there. They also traveled. They got a lot of exposure. We spent entirely too much money to take them to places so they can see the world. They would see glamorous places like Paris, and they would see devastated places like Maputo, Mozambique, outside of the city, just the extreme poverty. And or everything in between, right? They would see the glamour, the beauty, the museums, the art, the inspirational stuff, and then they see the reality, the devastation, the need, and they got exposed through it throughout their lives since they were babies. And then lastly, affection. There's a lot of I love you, I'm with you, I'm for you. There's a lot of hugs, there's a lot of kisses. I want them to have an image, my three daughters, of a man who's emotionally available, who's affectionate, who's not distant, who's not abusive, who cares, who listens, who nurtures. I want them to have that, and they have expressed to me on more than one occasion that they've created a standard for themselves based on their relationship with me. And they say that they tease me with that, but they really mean it in a very complimentary way. And like, there's nothing better in life than that, honestly, right? And okay, so if you're listening to this and you're going, okay, this is interesting, but I've messed up here and here and here and here. And what I want to tell you is that, look, you don't need a flawless plan. You don't need $1 million. All you need is a decision to weave your life tightly with the lives of the people you love and build everything else around it. I come from 3 generations of broken homes. I come from a lot of pain, a lot of drama. And I was able to crystallize that wisdom that I got from my dad and pass it on to my children, and also learn from the mistakes from my dad and not repeat them with my children. Part of the reason why I think I teach about the value and the power of personal brand is the freedom that it brings to the people who master that. The freedom of choice, the freedom of time, the freedom of availability, the freedom of shaping their lives according to their values. That's the point of success, I think, right? So if you've learned something from here, I'm so glad. I'm actually recording this a couple of days before Father's Day. So if you're watching this on Sunday, happy Father's Day. If not, it doesn't matter. It's evergreen stuff, right? But if you've maybe even thought, you know what, I really want to learn about building a personal brand because of those priorities, because I want to serve my family, because I want to be present, go to Xponential life. Xponential is spelled without the E. And there's a really cool scorecard there that basically you answer a few questions in like 5 minutes. You'll know how ready you are to build a personal brand. And then you can make decisions out of that. Thank you for watching. Send this to a friend who needs it.